The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Zephys of the Krillian Empire stood before the assembled representatives. His four arms gestured dramatically as holographic displays showed star charts and fleet movements around him. The blue-skinned admiral's voice carried across the vast amphitheater with practiced authority. Honored delegates, we gather today to address the human problem once and for all. His words echoed through translation devices worn by hundreds of species. For too long, this upstart race has defied our established order. They refuse tribute. They ignore our territorial boundaries. They spread their chaotic influence wherever they go. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The hegemony representatives clicked their mandibles in approval. The crystalline Zephyrite chimed in harmonious discord. Even the typically neutral ethereal collective showed signs of agitation, their translucent forms flickering with concern. Admiral Zephys continued, his voice rising with each word. 3 cycles ago, they destroyed our research station at Kepler 442. 2 cycles ago, they liberated an entire slave world in the Vega system. Last cycle, they had the audacity to establish colonies in 17 contested systems without permission from this council. The overlord of the hegemony leaned forward on his obsidian throne, his insect-like features twisted in what passed for a smile among his kind. What do you propose, Admiral? We have tried diplomatic solutions. We have imposed economic sanctions. We have even attempted limited military actions. Nothing seems to deter these humans. Admiral Zephys activated another hologram showing a massive fleet formation. The display revealed thousands of ships from dozens of allied civilizations. Dreadnoughts the size of small moons floated alongside carrier vessels that could house entire armies. The combined firepower represented the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. I propose we end this threat permanently, the Admiral declared. Every major civilization has contributed vessels to this grand armada. We have assembled over 50,000 warships. Our combined technological superiority is absolute. The humans possess perhaps 2,000 ships scattered across their pathetic little colonies. The representative from the ethereal collective spoke in a voice like wind through crystal caves. The humans have shown remarkable ingenuity in past conflicts. Are we certain that numerical superiority will be sufficient? Admiral Zephys laughed, a harsh sound that made several smaller species flinch. Honored ethereal. With respect, human ingenuity is overrated. They are barely 300 years into space travel. We have been exploring the galaxy for millennia. Their technology is primitive compared to our advanced systems. Their tactics are crude and predictable. The Admiral gestured to another display showing human ship designs. The vessels appeared blocky and functional compared to the elegant curves of Krillian craft or the organic beauty of ethereal ships. Look at their warships. No style, no grace, no sophisticated weaponry. They rely on kinetic projectiles and fusion explosives. Meanwhile, our fleets wield plasma cannons, dark matter torpedoes, and quantum disruptors. A smaller delegate from the synthetic consciousness raised what might have been a hand. What of their recent victory at the Battle of Wolf 359? Our intelligence reports suggest they defeated a hegemony fleet 3 times their size. The hegemony overlord's mandibles clicked in annoyance. A fluke. Local commanders underestimated human desperation. When cornered, even the most primitive creatures can sometimes achieve temporary success through sheer luck. Admiral Zephys nodded enthusiastically. Precisely why we must strike with overwhelming force. Leave nothing to chance. The assembled armada will jump simultaneously to the Sol system, humanity's birth world. We will destroy their fleet, bombard their planets, and end their expansion permanently. The chamber erupted in discussion as delegates conferred with their species representatives. The plan was ambitious, requiring coordination between civilizations that had been enemies for centuries. Yet the human threat seemed to unite them in ways that peaceful cooperation never could. The ethereal representative spoke again, their voice carrying across the din. What of the other younger species? Will they not view this as aggression against a developing civilization? The younger species will learn a valuable lesson, Admiral Zephys replied coldly. Challenge the established order and face the consequences. Besides, Most of the junior civilizations have already pledged ships to our cause. They understand that human expansion threatens everyone's territory. As the debate continued, holographic displays showed the massive fleet already assembling at the edge of human space. Ships arrived hourly from distant sectors, adding their firepower to the growing armada. The sight was magnificent and terrifying, a demonstration of what united galactic civilizations could accomplish when they put aside their differences. Dr. Sarah Chun stood in the observation deck of the Human Research Station at Proxima Centauri, watching through telescopes as unknown ships gathered just beyond the system's edge. The elderly scientist had spent her career studying alien civilizations, but she had never seen anything like this. "How many do you count now?" asked Captain Rodriguez, the station commander. The former military officer had been tracking the alien fleet for 3 days, his expression growing more grim with each new arrival. "Over 30,000 confirmed signatures," Dr. Chin replied, adjusting the telescope's focus. "Multiple ship classes from at least 40 different civilizations. This isn't a patrol or exploratory force, Captain. This is an armada." Captain Rodriguez activated his communicator. "Priority transmission to Earth Command. Update on alien fleet concentration. Numbers continue to increase. Estimates suggests coordinated action by multiple hostile civilizations." The response came back within minutes. "Proxima Station, this is Admiral Harrison at Seoul Defense Command. We're tracking similar concentrations at 7 other human colonies. Total alien force strength estimated at 50,000 vessels. All human fleets are being recalled to Seoul for defensive operations." Dr. Chun felt her stomach tighten. In her 40 years of xenological research, she had warned repeatedly about the growing tensions between humanity and the established galactic powers. Human expansion had been rapid and aggressive by galactic standards. They had claimed systems, established colonies, and defended their interests without asking permission from anyone. "Doctor, what are your thoughts?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "You know these species better than anyone. What are we looking at?" Dr. Chin studied the fleet composition through her instruments. "Based on ship configurations, I'm seeing vessels from the Krillian Empire, the Hegemony, the Zephyrite Consortium, the Ethereal Collective, and at least 30 other civilizations. Some of these species have been at war with each other for centuries. The fact that they're cooperating suggests they view humanity as an existential threat." "Are we?" the captain asked quietly. Dr. Chun considered the question carefully. "From their perspective? Probably yes. We've expanded faster than any species in recorded galactic history. We've ignored their territorial claims. We've freed slave worlds and disrupted established trade routes. To them, we represent chaos and change. And from our perspective? From our perspective, we're explorers and settlers looking for new homes among the stars. We're not interested in conquering anyone or disrupting their civilizations. We just want the freedom to build our own future." Captain Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Well, Doctor, it looks like they've decided our future for us." The communication system crackled again. "All stations, this is Earth Command. Evacuation protocols are now in effect for all outer colonies. Civilian populations are to be moved to designated safe zones immediately. Military personnel will maintain defensive positions until further orders." Dr. Chun watched as the alien fleet continued to grow, new ships arriving every hour like gathering storm clouds. Somewhere among those vessels, alien commanders were planning humanity's destruction. They probably saw it as a necessary action, a way to restore galactic order and prevent future chaos. What they didn't understand was that humans had spent their entire history facing impossible odds and finding ways to survive. From the plains of Africa to the depths of space, humanity had always found a way to adapt, to overcome, to endure. This would be their greatest test yet. The research station hummed with activity as evacuation procedures began. Scientists packed decades of research while military personnel prepared defensive systems. Dr. Chun remained at her telescope, watching the enemy fleet and thinking about the young species that would soon face the combined might of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. In the distance, more ships continued to arrive. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Admiral Zephyr received regular updates on fleet strength and positioning. The numbers were even better than expected. Some civilizations had contributed more ships than promised, eager to participate in what they saw as a historic moment. "The fleet will be ready to jump in 72 hours, the admiral announced. "Our target is the Sol system. Primary objectives are the destruction of human naval forces and major population centers. Secondary objectives include the capture of human technology and the establishment of occupation forces on strategic worlds." The hegemony overlord leaned forward. "What resistance do you expect?" "Minimal," Admiral Zephyr replied confidently. "Human intelligence suggests they have perhaps 1,500 warships in their home system. Even if every human vessel performs perfectly, they cannot hope to match our firepower. The battle will be over within hours." The ethereal representative shimmered with concern. "And if it is not? What if the humans have prepared some unexpected defense?" Admiral Zephyr laughed again. "Honored ethereal, you give them too much credit. Humans are resourceful, I grant you, but they are not miracle workers. No amount of ingenuity can overcome a 30-to-1 disadvantage in numbers and technology." The chamber fell silent as delegates contemplated the approaching battle. This would be the largest military action in galactic history, a demonstration of what happened when younger species challenged the established order. The message would echo across the galaxy for millennia to come. As the session concluded, Admiral Zephyr reviewed the final fleet compositions one more time. Everything was proceeding perfectly. In 3 days, the human problem would be solved permanently, and galactic peace would be restored. He had no way of knowing that his perfect plan was about to encounter something that had made humans the most dangerous species in the galaxy: their absolute refusal to accept defeat, no matter how hopeless the odds appeared. The final race between humanity and the galaxy's oldest civilizations was about to begin. In the depths of space, 50,000 alien warships prepared to teach humanity a lesson they would never forget. What they were about to learn instead was why humans had never met a challenge they couldn't eventually overcome. The countdown to humanity's greatest test had begun. Admiral Sarah Mitchell stood in the command center of the UNS Defiance, humanity's newest and most advanced warship, watching the tactical displays that showed the impossible situation facing Earth. The holographic projections painted a grim picture: 50,000 alien vessels moving into attack formation just outside the Sol system. "Status report," she commanded, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what they faced. Lieutenant Commander Park looked up from his station. "All human fleets have successfully reached Sol, Admiral. Total strength, 1,437 vessels. The civilian evacuation is 90% complete. Deep space monitoring stations report the alien armada is beginning final approach maneuvers." Admiral Mitchell nodded. She was one of the youngest flag officers in human space fleet history, promoted rapidly after her innovative tactics had won several crucial battles against alien raids. Now she commanded not just a ship, but humanity's entire hope for survival. "What about Project Omega?" she asked quietly. Dr. James Harrison, the military's chief weapons researcher, stepped forward from his position at the science station. "All systems are functioning within normal parameters. The installations are powered and ready. We're as prepared as we'll ever be." Admiral Mitchell studied the man who had spent the last 5 years developing humanity's most classified defense system. Project Omega represented everything humans had learned about alien technology, combined with their own unique approach to warfare. It was ambitious, untested, and absolutely necessary. "How long until the enemy fleet reaches Earth?" she asked. "At current approach speed, 18 hours, replied the tactical officer. Admiral Mitchell activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Mitchell. In 18 hours, we will face the largest invasion force in galactic history. The aliens believe their superior numbers and technology guarantee victory. They are about to learn why humanity has survived every challenge our species has ever faced." She paused, looking around the bridge at the faces of her crew. Young and old, from dozens of different Earth nations and colony worlds, they represented the best of what humanity could offer. "Our enemy sees us as a problem to be solved. They view our expansion as chaos that must be stopped. What they don't understand is that chaos is our greatest strength. While they spent millennia perfecting rigid doctrines and established tactics, We learned to adapt, to improvise, to find solutions where none seemed to exist. The communication system carried her words to every human ship in the fleet. Today we prove that courage and innovation can overcome any odds. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will not be silenced, will not be stopped, and will not surrender our right to reach for the stars. As the fleet prepared for battle, Admiral Mitchell reviewed the intelligence reports one final time. The alien armada was indeed impressive, representing the combined military might of 43 different civilizations. Their ships were larger, their weapons more advanced, their shields more sophisticated than anything humanity possessed. But Admiral Zephyrs had made several critical assumptions about human capabilities, and each assumption was about to prove fatally incorrect. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, construction crews were making final adjustments to humanity's greatest engineering project. Hidden among the rocks and debris, massive installations had been built over the past 5 years. From the outside, they looked like ordinary mining operations. From the inside, they represented humanity's unique approach to warfare. Chief Engineer Maria Santos floated in zero gravity as she inspected the primary power couplings for Installation 7. The massive structure extended deep into the asteroid, its corridors and chambers carved from solid rock and reinforced with the strongest materials human industry could produce. "Power levels are stable," reported her assistant, checking readouts from a portable scanner. "All weapon systems show green across the board." Santos nodded with satisfaction. The installations had been built in secret, disguised as routine asteroid mining operations. Alien observers had detected the construction, but dismissed it as typical human resource extraction. They had no idea that each installation contained enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. "What's the latest from Earth Command?" she asked. Admiral Mitchell reports the alien fleet is maintaining formation as expected. No indication they suspect anything unusual about our asteroid operations. Santos smiled grimly. Humanity's greatest advantage had always been the ability to think differently, to approach problems from unexpected angles. While their enemies prepared for a conventional space battle, humans had been preparing something entirely different. The communication system activated with Admiral Mitchell's voice. "All installations, this is Fleet Command. Enemy contact in 17 hours. Final systems check commencing now." Santos activated her station's response system. Installation 7 reporting all systems operational. "We're ready, Admiral." Similar reports came in from installations throughout the asteroid belt. 23 hidden bases, each containing weapons that alien intelligence had never detected. Each installation represented years of human engineering and innovation, built with one purpose in mind. Meanwhile, in the outer system, the alien armada continued its steady approach toward Earth. Admiral Zephyrs stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Infinite Glory, reviewing final battle plans with his staff. "Intelligence reports no significant change in human defensive preparations," his tactical officer reported. "Their fleet remains concentrated near Earth. No indication of any unusual activity." Admiral Zephyrs nodded with satisfaction. As expected, humans are predictable in their desperation. They will attempt a traditional defensive action, hoping to delay our advance long enough for some diplomatic solution. They fail to understand that diplomacy ended when they refused to accept their proper place in the galactic order. The Admiral activated his communication system, addressing the entire armada. "Honored allies, in 16 hours we will engage the human fleet in battle. This action will establish the precedent for all future contact with younger species. We fight not just to eliminate a threat, but to preserve the stability and order that has maintained galactic peace for millennia." He paused, looking out at the vast formation of ships surrounding his flagship. "The humans will fight desperately, but desperation cannot overcome careful planning and superior technology. Their ships are primitive. Their tactics are crude. Their numbers are pathetic. Victory is assured." The response from the fleet was immediate and enthusiastic. Thousands of alien voices in dozens of languages expressed their confidence and eagerness for battle. Some species saw this as an opportunity to demonstrate their military prowess. Others viewed it as a necessary action to maintain galactic stability. All were certain of the outcome. But 3 light hours away, in a hidden laboratory beneath the surface of Luna, Dr. Elena Vasquez was making final adjustments to humanity's most ambitious project. The underground facility had been excavated in secret, its existence known only to the highest levels of human command. Quantum field generators are stable, reported her assistant, monitoring banks of exotic equipment that push the boundaries of human science. All targeting systems are synchronized with Fleet Command. Dr. Vasquez nodded as she reviewed the calculations one final time. What they were attempting had never been tried before, combining human innovation with captured alien technology in ways that their enemies had never imagined possible. "How long until we're in range?" she asked. 14 hours until optimal firing solution. All systems will be ready. Dr. Vasquez activated her communication link with Admiral Mitchell. "Luna Base to Fleet Command. Prometheus is ready for activation on your signal." "Understood, Luna Base," came the Admiral's reply. "Stand by for final authorization." As the hours ticked down toward battle, both sides made their final preparations. The aliens checked weapons systems, reviewed battle plans, and prepared for what they expected to be a brief but decisive engagement. They had overwhelming numerical superiority and technological advantages that should guarantee victory. The humans made different preparations. In hidden installations throughout the solar system, engineers activated systems that alien intelligence had never detected. Weapons were powered up that represented years of secret development. Tactical plans were reviewed that would have seemed impossible to more conventional military minds. Admiral Mitchell stood in the command center of the Defiance, watching countdown timers that marked the approaching battle. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person focused on their role in humanity's desperate gamble. "Admiral," the communications officer announced, "we're receiving surrender demands from the alien fleet." "Put it through," Mitchell replied. Admiral Zephy's image appeared on the main screen, his 4 arms spread in what was probably meant as a gesture of authority. "Human Commander, I am Admiral Zephy's of the Combined Galactic Fleet. You are outnumbered by more than 30 to 1. Your position is hopeless. I offer you one opportunity to surrender unconditionally and accept galactic authority." Admiral Mitchell looked directly into the alien's compound eyes. "Admiral Zephy's, I am Admiral Sarah Mitchell of the United Nations Space Fleet. Thank you for your offer, but I'm afraid we'll have to decline. Humanity has never surrendered to impossible odds before, and we're not about to start now." The alien admiral's expression changed to what might have been surprise. "You cannot seriously intend to fight. Even human stubbornness has limits." "You're about to find out exactly what those limits are," Mitchell replied. "I suggest you reconsider your approach to our system. You might find it more dangerous than you expect." Admiral Zephy's laughed, the harsh sound carrying clearly through the communication system. "Human bravado is impressive but irrelevant. You have 12 hours to reconsider. After that, we will demonstrate why challenging the galactic order is futile." The communication ended, leaving the bridge of the Defiance in silence. "Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Park asked quietly, "are you certain about this? Maybe we could negotiate some kind of compromise." Admiral Mitchell shook her head. "Commander, every species in that fleet believes humanity needs to be taught a lesson. They think we're too chaotic, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed to continue expanding. They've decided to solve the human problem permanently." She looked around the bridge at her crew. "What they don't understand is that chaos and unpredictability are exactly what have made humans successful. While they perfected rigid doctrines over millennia, we learned to adapt and innovate. Today we prove that evolution beats stagnation every time." As the final hours before battle ticked away, both fleets made their last preparations. The aliens prepared for a conventional engagement that they expected to win through superior firepower. The humans prepared for something entirely different. In hidden installations throughout the solar system, weapons powered up that alien science had never imagined. On Luna, quantum field generators reached full charge. In the asteroid belt, 23 secret bases prepared to reveal their existence in the most dramatic way possible. Humanity was about to teach the galaxy's oldest civilizations that underestimating the newest species was the most dangerous mistake they could possibly make. The final countdown to the largest space battle in galactic history had begun, and neither side was prepared for what was about to happen. Admiral Mitchell looked out at the stars that humanity had claimed as their birthright, knowing that the next few hours would determine whether their species continued to reach for them or was silenced forever. The time for preparation was almost over. Soon, the galaxy would learn why humans had never met a challenge they couldn't overcome. The alien armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation, 50,000 warships appearing simultaneously in a display of coordination that would have been impossible for any single civilization to achieve. Admiral Zephyrs stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical displays show the human fleet's position near Earth. "Excellent," he murmured to his tactical officer. "They have positioned themselves exactly as predicted. All human vessels concentrated in close orbit around their homeworld. They intend to make a desperate last stand." The tactical displays showed the human fleet in detail, barely 1,400 ships arranged in defensive formations around Earth and its moon. The vessels looked pathetic compared to the sleek alien dreadnoughts and massive carrier ships that now filled the outer system. "Orders, Admiral?" asked his communications officer. "Signal the fleet. We advance in standard formation. Outer ring ships will engage and destroy the human fleet. Inner ring ships will prepare for planetary bombardment. This engagement should be concluded within 6 hours." Admiral Zephyrs activated his communication system to address the entire armada. "Honored allies, the moment we have prepared for has arrived. The human fleet awaits us in Earth orbit, trapped with nowhere to retreat. Their technology is primitive, their numbers insignificant, their position hopeless. We will demonstrate to the galaxy what happens when younger species challenge the established order." The response from thousands of alien ships was immediate and enthusiastic. Battle cries in dozens of languages filled the communication channels as the massive fleet began its approach toward the inner system. But as the alien armada moved past Jupiter's orbit, something unexpected happened. Deep in the asteroid belt, Chief Engineer Santos received the activation signal from Fleet Command. "All installations, this is Admiral Mitchell. You are authorized to reveal positions and engage at will." Santos smiled as she activated the primary weapons systems. Installation 7, Weapons Hot. Beginning target acquisition. Throughout the asteroid belt, 23 hidden bases suddenly came alive. What had appeared to be ordinary mining operations revealed their true nature as massive weapons platforms. Each installation had been built into asteroids over 5 years of secret construction, disguised as routine resource extraction. The first surprise for Admiral Zephyrs came when his tactical officer shouted a warning. "Admiral, detecting massive energy signatures from the asteroid belt. Multiple installations are powering weapons systems." "Impossible," Zephyrs replied. "Those are mining operations. We've been monitoring them for years." "Sir, I'm reading 23 separate facilities, each one the size of a battle station. They're targeting our forward elements." Admiral Zephyrs stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The installations had been hidden so perfectly that alien intelligence had never suspected their true purpose. What he was seeing represented the largest fortification project in human history, built right under the nose of galactic surveillance. "How long until we're in their range?" he asked. "We're already in range, sir. Energy readings suggest weapons far more powerful than anything in our intelligence estimates." Before Admiral Zephyrs could respond, the asteroid installations opened fire. The weapons that Chief Engineer Santos had spent 5 years installing were not conventional by any standard. Human engineers had studied captured alien technology and then approached the problem from a completely different angle. Instead of trying to match alien sophistication, they had focused on raw power and innovation. Installation 7 fired its primary weapon, a massive railgun that accelerated projectiles to a significant percentage of light speed. The kinetic energy was devastating, and the projectiles themselves were special. Each round contained a small fusion warhead that detonated on impact, turning kinetic weapons into miniature stars. The first volley from the asteroid installation struck the alien vanguard with devastating effect. Ships that had survived centuries of galactic conflicts were torn apart by weapons they had never encountered. The beautiful formations of the alien armada dissolved into chaos as captains tried to understand what was happening. "Report," Admiral Zephyr shouted as his flagship shook from a near miss. "We've lost over 200 ships in the first exchange," his tactical officer replied, his voice filled with disbelief. "The human weapons are penetrating our shields like they don't exist." Admiral Zephyr studied the tactical display, trying to understand how human mining operations had become the most powerful weapons platforms he had ever seen. "How are they penetrating our shields?" "The projectiles appear to be using some kind of quantum field manipulation. Our shield technology has never encountered anything like it." What Admiral Zephyr didn't know was that Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent 3 years studying captured alien shield generators, learning exactly how they worked, and then designing weapons specifically to counter them. The quantum field manipulation wasn't accidental, it was precisely engineered to make alien shields useless. "All ships, concentrate fire on those installations," Admiral Zephyr ordered. "Destroy them immediately." But, as the alien fleet turned to engage the asteroid bases, Admiral Mitchell activated the second phase of humanity's defense plan. "Luna Base, this is Fleet Command. You are authorized to activate Prometheus." Deep beneath the surface of Luna, Dr. Vasquez smiled as she initiated the most ambitious project in human history. Prometheus activation confirmed. Beginning field generation. The installation beneath Luna represented everything humans had learned about space-time manipulation, combined with their unique approach to solving impossible problems. While alien science had spent millennia perfecting existing technologies, humans had focused on discovering entirely new possibilities. Prometheus was humanity's first successful attempt at controlled gravity manipulation. The massive generators beneath Luna created a localized distortion in space-time that had taken 3 years to perfect. Now, for the first time in galactic history, a younger species was about to demonstrate technology that the older civilizations didn't even know was possible. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Ships in the alien vanguard suddenly found themselves pulled off course as gravity fields fluctuated wildly around them. Formation integrity collapsed as vessels were dragged in different directions by forces they couldn't understand or counter. "What is happening to our ships?" Admiral Zephyr demanded. "Unknown gravitational anomalies throughout the combat zone," his science officer replied. "Our ships are being pulled off course by localized gravity distortions. I've never seen anything like it." Admiral Zephyr watched in growing horror as his perfectly coordinated fleet became a chaotic mess. Ships collided with each other as gravity fields pulled them in unexpected directions. Formation commanders lost control of their units as the fundamental laws of physics seemed to fluctuate randomly around them. "How are the humans doing this?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. Our science teams have no explanation for these phenomena." What Admiral Zephyr couldn't know was that humanity had achieved something the galaxy's oldest civilizations had considered impossible: practical manipulation of gravity itself. While alien technology focused on energy weapons and sophisticated shields, humans had learned to weaponize the fundamental forces of the universe. But Admiral Mitchell wasn't finished with her surprises. "All ships, advance to attack positions. Execute Plan Omega." The human fleet suddenly broke from its defensive positions around Earth and accelerated toward the alien armada. What the aliens had interpreted as a desperate defensive stand revealed itself as the setup for humanity's most audacious tactical gambit. As the human ships accelerated, they revealed modifications that alien intelligence had never detected. Each vessel had been equipped with experimental drive systems that allowed incredible acceleration and maneuverability. What appeared to be primitive human ships suddenly became the most agile vessels in the combat zone. Admiral Zephyr watched in amazement as human ships darted through his formation at impossible speeds, their movements defying everything he knew about space combat. "How are they moving like that?" "Our intelligence reports indicated primitive propulsion systems. The drive signatures are unlike anything in our databases," his tactical officer replied. "They appear to be using some kind of dimensional manipulation for propulsion." The truth was that human engineers had studied alien technology and then discarded most of it in favor of more innovative approaches. While alien ships relied on conventional physics for propulsion, human vessels had been equipped with experimental drives that folded space around them, allowing movement that seemed impossible to observers unfamiliar with the technology. As the human fleet engaged the confused alien formation, the asteroid installations continued their devastating bombardment. Each installation could fire once every 30 seconds, and each shot destroyed or crippled multiple alien vessels. The carefully planned alien advance had become a chaotic retreat as captains tried to avoid both the asteroid weapons and the gravitational anomalies that were tearing their formations apart. "Admiral, we've lost over 1,000 ships," his tactical officer reported. "Formation integrity is at 30% and declining. Our shield systems are ineffective against the human weapons." Admiral Zephyr struggled to understand how his perfect battle plan had gone so wrong so quickly. "What about our long-range weapons? Can we target the asteroid installations from beyond their engagement range?" "Negative, sir. The gravitational distortions are affecting our targeting systems. Our long-range weapons can't achieve firing solutions while the anomalies persist." Dr. Vasquez monitored the battle from her position beneath Luna's surface, making constant adjustments to the gravity field generators. "Increase field intensity in sectors 7 through 12. The alien ships are trying to establish a coherent formation." The gravitational fields shifted, becoming more intense in the areas where alien commanders were attempting to regroup their forces. Ships that had managed to achieve stable flight paths suddenly found themselves pulled in new directions as the artificial gravity wells moved and intensified. "Field generation at 80% capacity," her assistant reported. "All generators stable." "Excellent. Maintain current settings until Admiral Mitchell signals Phase 3. Back on the Defiance, Admiral Mitchell watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. The alien fleet was in complete disarray, their numerical advantage negated by technologies they had never encountered. But she knew the battle was far from over. "Status report," she commanded. "Asteroid installations report 90% operational status. Luna Base confirms Prometheus functioning normally. Human fleet casualties minimal. Enemy casualties estimated at 1,500 vessels destroyed, 3,000 damaged." Admiral Mitchell nodded. In less than 2 hours, humanity had destroyed or disabled more than a quarter of the alien armada while suffering almost no losses themselves. But Admiral Zephyr would adapt, and the remaining enemy ships still outnumbered the human fleet by 20 to 1. "Signal all installations and Luna Base. Prepare for Phase 3 on my command." She opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. "Admiral Zephyr, this is Admiral Mitchell. Are you ready to discuss terms?" The alien admiral's image appeared on her screen, his features distorted by what appeared to be rage. "This is not possible. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons are inferior. How are you doing this?" Admiral Mitchell smiled calmly. "Admiral, you made the same mistake that every powerful civilization makes when dealing with newcomers. You assumed that different means inferior. You studied our technology and dismissed it as primitive because it didn't match your sophisticated designs. What you failed to understand is that we approached the problems differently." She gestured to her tactical displays. "While you spent millennia perfecting energy weapons, we learned to manipulate gravity itself. While you developed sophisticated shields, we created weapons that ignore them entirely. While you built larger and more complex ships, we made ours faster and more maneuverable than anything you've ever seen." Admiral Zephyr stared at her through the communication link. "This changes nothing. We still outnumber you massively. We can absorb these losses and continue the attack." Admiral Mitchell's expression became more serious. "Admiral, you've seen Phases 1 and 2 of our defense plan. You really don't want to see Phase 3. I strongly recommend you withdraw your fleet and reconsider your approach to the human problem." "Never," Admiral Zephyr replied. "The galactic order must be maintained. Your species will be eliminated." Admiral Mitchell nodded sadly. "Very well, Admiral. Don't say I didn't warn you." She closed the communication channel and turned to her bridge crew. "Signal all units. Execute Phase 3 immediately." What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the moment when the balance of power shifted permanently from the old civilizations to the new ones. Humanity's final surprise was about to begin. Admiral Mitchell's order to execute Phase 3 triggered the activation of humanity's most closely guarded secret. Throughout the outer solar system, installations that had remained hidden even from the asteroid bases suddenly came online. These weren't weapons platforms or defensive systems. They were something far more ambitious and dangerous. Dr. Harrison monitored the activation sequence from his position aboard the Defiance. Phase 3 installations responding. All quantum resonance generators are online and achieving synchronization. Admiral Mitchell watched the tactical displays as new energy signatures appeared throughout the solar system. Time to full activation. 30 minutes until we reach optimal resonance frequency. All systems appear stable. What humanity had built in secret over the past decade represented their most audacious engineering project. While the galaxy's attention had been focused on human expansion and colony worlds, Earth's greatest scientists had been working on something that would change the nature of space combat forever. Admiral Zephyr struggled to reorganize his fleet while dealing with the gravitational anomalies and asteroid bombardments. The careful formations that had taken hours to establish were constantly disrupted by forces his commanders couldn't predict or counter. Status of the fleet reorganization, he demanded. Difficult to maintain formation cohesion, his tactical officer replied. The gravitational distortions are preventing standard tactical maneuvers. We've managed to establish 3 stable formations, but they're operating independently. What about our long-range bombardment capabilities? Can we target Earth from our current position? Negative, sir. The gravitational anomalies are affecting our targeting systems. We would need to move closer to achieve accurate fire solutions. Admiral Zephyr studied the tactical display, trying to understand how the humans had managed to completely neutralize his technological advantages. Signal the fleet. All vessels advance on the human positions. Accept casualties if necessary, but maintain forward momentum. The alien armada began moving toward Earth again, accepting losses from the asteroid installations and navigation difficulties from the gravity fields. Admiral Zephyr was determined to complete his mission regardless of cost. But, as his fleet advanced past the orbit of Mars, Dr. Harrison completed the final adjustments to humanity's ultimate defense system. Admiral, quantum resonance is approaching optimal frequency. We're ready to activate the field network. Admiral Mitchell opened a final communication to the alien fleet. Admiral Zephyr, this is your last warning. Withdraw your forces immediately or face the consequences. The alien admiral's image appeared on screen, his expression filled with determination and fury. Human threats are meaningless. Your primitive tricks cannot overcome galactic military doctrine refined over millennia. We will destroy your fleet, bombard your planet, and end your expansion permanently. Admiral Mitchell nodded calmly. Very well, Admiral. You were warned. She turned to Dr. Harrison. Activate the resonance field network. Throughout the solar system, quantum resonance generators that had been built into seemingly innocent installations suddenly activated simultaneously. The effect was unlike anything in galactic history. Space itself began to vibrate. The quantum resonance field network represented humanity's most radical approach to warfare. While alien civilizations had spent millennia perfecting weapons that affected matter and energy, human scientists had discovered how to manipulate the fundamental structure of space-time itself. Admiral Zephyr felt his flagship shudder as reality fluctuated around them. Report. What is affecting the ship? Unknown phenomenon, sir. Space itself appears to be oscillating. Our instruments are detecting quantum-level disturbances throughout the combat zone. What the aliens were experiencing was the activation of humanity's quantum resonance field. The network created controlled vibrations in space-time that made normal ship operations impossible. Navigation systems failed. Weapons targeting became erratic. Even basic life support systems began to malfunction as the fundamental constants of physics fluctuated around them. Sir, we're losing ships throughout the fleet, the tactical officer reported, his voice filled with panic. Not from weapons fire, but from system failures. The resonance is interfering with our technology at the quantum level. Admiral Zephyr watched in horror as vessels throughout his armada began to drift helplessly, their crews unable to control systems that depended on stable physical laws. Some ships simply stopped functioning entirely. Others experienced catastrophic failures as their power systems interacted unpredictably with the fluctuating quantum fields. How are the human ships unaffected? He demanded. Dr. Harrison smiled as he monitored the field generators from the Defiance. Human ships continued to operate normally because they had been specifically designed to function within the resonance fields. Every system had been hardened against quantum fluctuations, every component tested to ensure compatibility with the manipulated space-time environment. "Admiral, enemy fleet cohesion is collapsing," reported Lieutenant Commander Park. "Approximately 60% of their vessels are experiencing critical system failures. The remainder are attempting to withdraw beyond field range." Admiral Mitchell watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. The alien armada that had seemed so overwhelmingly powerful hours earlier was now scattered and helpless, their technological superiority neutralized by forces they couldn't understand or counter. But the resonance field network was only part of Phase 3. "Activate the dimensional displacement generators," Admiral Mitchell commanded. Deep within the Kuiper belt, installations that had been invisible even to human sensors suddenly revealed themselves. These weren't weapons or defensive systems. They were humanity's first successful experiments in controlled dimensional manipulation. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Sections of space throughout the combat zone simply ceased to exist, replaced by dimensional voids that swallowed anything that entered them. Alien ships found themselves flying into areas where the normal laws of physics didn't apply, where matter itself became unstable. Admiral Zephyrs watched in disbelief as entire sections of his fleet vanished into dimensional anomalies. "What is happening to our ships?" "Unknown, sir. They appear to be entering regions of space where our sensors cannot follow. We're detecting massive dimensional distortions throughout the combat zone." The truth was that humanity had achieved something the galaxy's oldest civilizations had considered impossible: practical manipulation of dimensional boundaries. While alien technology focused on existing within normal spacetime, humans had learned to create regions where spacetime itself operated under different rules. Ships that entered the dimensional displacement zones found themselves in environments where their technology simply couldn't function. Some emerged damaged beyond repair. Others never emerged at all, trapped in dimensional pockets where the normal laws of physics had been temporarily suspended. "Sir, we've lost contact with over half the fleet," the tactical officer reported. "Remaining vessels are attempting to retreat to safe distance, but the anomalies are expanding." Admiral Zephyrs struggled to comprehend what was happening to his perfect battle plan. In less than 4 hours, the largest military force in galactic history had been reduced to scattered fragments by technologies that shouldn't have existed. Dr. Vasquez monitored the gravitational field generators from Luna Base, coordinating with the dimensional displacement network to create maximum chaos among the alien formations. Field harmonics are stable. The resonance and displacement effects are synergizing perfectly. "How long can we maintain this level of manipulation?" her assistant asked. "Indefinitely. The beauty of these systems is that they're self-sustaining once activated. We're not fighting the laws of physics, we're rewriting them." Admiral Mitchell opened one final communication to the alien fleet. "Admiral Zephyrs, are you ready to discuss terms now?" The alien admiral's image appeared on screen, but he looked completely different than before. His confident demeanor had been replaced by confusion and what might have been fear. "This is impossible. These technologies you're using, they violate fundamental galactic scientific principles." "No, Admiral," Mitchell replied calmly. "They violate your understanding of those principles. The galaxy's oldest civilizations spent so much time perfecting existing technologies that you forgot how to innovate. You became so focused on maintaining established order that you lost the ability to adapt to new challenges." She gestured to her tactical displays. "Humanity has been exploring space for barely 3 centuries, but we approach every problem as if it's never been solved before. While you were refining weapons and shields that worked within accepted scientific frameworks, we were discovering entirely new frameworks." Admiral Zephyrs studied the tactical display showing his shattered fleet. "What do you want?" "What we've always wanted, Admiral. The freedom to explore the galaxy and establish our own colonies without interference. We're not interested in conquering anyone or disrupting your civilizations. We just want the right to build our own future among the stars." "And if we refuse?" Admiral Mitchell's expression became more serious. "Admiral, You came to our system with 50,000 warships intending to destroy our fleet and bombard our planet. We've demonstrated that your technological advantages are meaningless against innovation you can't understand or counter. I suggest you reconsider the wisdom of continued hostilities." The communication was interrupted by an urgent report from the alien tactical officer. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy buildup from Earth itself. It appears the entire planet is becoming some kind of weapon system." Admiral Mitchell smiled. "That's Phase 4, Admiral. Earth itself has been converted into the largest defensive installation in galactic history. Every major city, every military base, every industrial center is now part of an integrated planetary defense network. If you force us to activate it, the energy release will be visible from neighboring star systems." The truth was that Phase 4 represented humanity's ultimate deterrent. Over 15 years of secret construction, Earth itself had been turned into a weapon capable of destroying fleets hundreds of times larger than what currently threatened the system. The planet's entire infrastructure had been integrated into a defense network that could channel the energy output of a star. Admiral Zephyrs stared at the energy readings coming from Earth. "You would destroy your own planet to stop us?" "If necessary," Admiral Mitchell replied. "But I don't think it will come to that. You're an intelligent commander, Admiral. You understand when a tactical situation has become untenable." The alien admiral looked around his bridge at his demoralized crew. His perfect fleet was scattered across the solar system, many ships disabled or destroyed by technologies they couldn't comprehend. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that made continued resistance futile. "What are your terms?" he asked quietly. "Simple," Admiral Mitchell replied. "All alien fleets withdraw immediately beyond the edge of human space. The Galactic Council officially recognizes humanity's right to independent expansion and colonization. Any future contact between our civilizations will be conducted through diplomatic channels rather than military threats." Admiral Zephyrs considered her demands. They were reasonable by galactic standards, asking for nothing more than what dozens of other species had already been granted. The problem was that granting them would represent a fundamental shift in galactic power dynamics. "I cannot speak for the entire Galactic Council," he said finally. "Then, I suggest you contact them immediately," Admiral Mitchell replied. "Because in 6 hours, if we don't have a formal withdrawal order from the Council, we'll assume hostilities are continuing and activate our remaining defensive systems." The alien admiral nodded reluctantly. "I will contact the Council immediately." As the communication ended, Admiral Mitchell turned to her bridge crew. The young officers who had faced impossible odds just hours earlier were now witnessing the end of galactic dominance by the older civilizations. "Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Park asked, "do you think they'll accept our terms?" Admiral Mitchell looked out at the tactical display showing the scattered remains of what had been the galaxy's most powerful military force. "Commander, they'll accept because they don't have any choice. Today, humanity proved that innovation beats tradition, adaptation beats stagnation, and courage beats numbers." She paused, considering the implications of what they had accomplished. The galaxy just learned that the age of the established powers is ending. The future belongs to civilizations willing to push boundaries and explore new possibilities. As alien ships throughout the solar system began powering down their weapons and preparing for withdrawal, the largest space battle in galactic history was ending not with conquest, but with recognition that the old order was changing forever. Humanity had passed its greatest test and earned its place among the stars through the same qualities that had always defined their species: the refusal to accept defeat and the determination to find solutions where none seemed to exist. The final race between humanity and the galaxy's oldest civilizations was over. The newcomers had won by proving that evolution would always triumph over stagnation, no matter how impossible the odds appeared. But the real victory was just beginning. 3 weeks after the Battle of Sol, Admiral Zephyrs stood once again before the Galactic Council. But this time the atmosphere was completely different. Gone was the confident energy that had filled the chamber when the assembled civilizations had planned humanity's destruction. Now, an uncomfortable silence filled the vast amphitheater as delegates struggled to process what had happened. "Honored delegates," Admiral Zephyrs began, his voice lacking the authority it had carried during his previous address. "I have returned to report on our engagement with human forces in the Sol system." The hegemony overlord leaned forward on his obsidian throne. "Speak, Admiral. How quickly was the human problem resolved?" Admiral Zephys activated his holographic display, but instead of showing victory celebrations, the images revealed the scattered remains of the once mighty galactic armada. Ships drifted helplessly in space, their systems disabled by technologies the assembled civilizations had never encountered. "The engagement did not proceed as anticipated," Admiral Zephys admitted. "Of the 50,000 vessels we deployed, fewer than 30,000 remain operational. Human casualties were minimal." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. The crystalline Zephyrite chimed in discord, while the ethereal collective flickered with agitation. Several smaller species representatives demanded immediate explanations. "How is this possible?" demanded the hegemony overlord. "You assured us that human technology was primitive, their tactics predictable, their defeat certain." Admiral Zephys struggled to find words that could adequately explain what his forces had experienced. "Honored delegates, our intelligence estimates were fundamentally flawed. The humans did not fight using conventional tactics or recognized technologies. They employed weapons and defensive systems that our science teams cannot fully explain." He activated another display showing the quantum resonance field effects. "They manipulated space-time itself as a weapon. Our ships found themselves operating in environments where the basic laws of physics fluctuated unpredictably. Navigation systems failed. Weapons targeting became impossible. Some vessels simply ceased to function entirely." The ethereal collective representative spoke in their wind-through crystal voice. "Are you suggesting that humans have achieved technological capabilities beyond our own?" "I am suggesting," Admiral Zephys replied carefully, "that humans approach scientific problems from perspectives we have never considered. While we have spent millennia perfecting existing technologies, they have been developing entirely new theoretical frameworks." The truth was even more disturbing than what Admiral Zephys was willing to admit publicly. Human science had not just matched galactic technology, it had surpassed it by taking approaches that established civilizations had never imagined. The implications went far beyond military considerations. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the lunar research facility that had housed the Prometheus project, now expanded into a full scientific campus. Around her, human researchers worked alongside the first alien scientists who had requested to study human innovations. The facility buzzed with activity as discoveries made during the war were refined and developed for peaceful applications. Dr. Vasquez, one of her assistants, announced, "We're receiving another delegation request from the Zephyrite Consortium. They want to discuss technology sharing agreements." Dr. Vasquez smiled as she reviewed the latest applications for collaborative research programs. In the 3 weeks since the battle, humanity had received more diplomatic contact than in their entire previous history of space exploration. The same civilizations that had tried to destroy them were now eager to establish relationships and learn from human innovations. "Schedule them for next week," she replied, "right after the ethereal collective delegation and before the synthetic consciousness representatives." The irony was not lost on her. The war that was supposed to end human expansion had instead established humanity as the galaxy's most desired research partner. Every major civilization wanted access to the technologies that had made their military superiority obsolete. Meanwhile, Admiral Sarah Mitchell was dealing with the diplomatic aftermath of humanity's unexpected victory. The conference room aboard the UNS Defiance hosted representatives from dozens of alien civilizations, all seeking to establish formal relationships with the species they had recently tried to exterminate. "Admiral Mitchell," the Krillian ambassador began, "my government wishes to express our regret for the recent misunderstanding. We hope that our two civilizations can establish mutually beneficial relationships moving forward." Admiral Mitchell looked around the table at delegates who had been preparing for humanity's funeral just a month earlier. "Ambassador, I appreciate your government's change of perspective. However, we need to be clear about certain fundamental principles before any relationships can be established." She activated a holographic display showing human colonial expansion over the past century. "Humanity will continue expanding and establishing colonies as we see fit. We will not seek permission from the Galactic Council or any other established authority. We will not pay tribute or accept restrictions on our growth. The ambassador shifted uncomfortably. Surely some coordination with existing territorial claims would be reasonable. Ambassador, your government spent millennia establishing territorial claims based on the assumption that newer species would accept subordinate status. Humanity rejects that assumption entirely. We recognize the sovereignty of inhabited worlds and established civilizations, but we don't recognize arbitrary claims to empty space. The ethereal collective representative shimmered with concern. Without some system of coordination, expansion conflicts are inevitable. Admiral Mitchell nodded. You're absolutely right. That's why we're proposing a new framework for galactic governance, one based on cooperation between equals rather than dominance by established powers. She activated another display showing humanity's proposal for galactic reorganization. We suggest the establishment of a true galactic confederation, with representation based on current population and technological contribution rather than historical precedents. All species would have equal rights to expansion and colonization, with conflicts resolved through arbitration rather than military force. The silence that followed was profound. What Admiral Mitchell was proposing represented a complete restructuring of galactic civilization, abandoning the hierarchical system that had maintained order for millennia. This would end the authority of the current Galactic Council, the Krillian ambassador observed. Yes, it would, Admiral Mitchell agreed. The current system is based on the assumption that older civilizations are inherently superior to younger ones. Recent events have demonstrated that this assumption is false. Back on Earth, President Sarah Chun addressed a joint session of the United Nations, outlining humanity's new position in galactic affairs. The assembly hall was packed with representatives from every nation and colony world, all eager to understand how their species had suddenly become a major galactic power. Fellow citizens, President Chun began. 3 weeks ago, our species faced extinction at the hands of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Today, we stand as equals among the stars, having proven that innovation and determination can overcome any challenge. She paused, looking around the assembly at the faces of humanity's elected representatives. But our victory comes with responsibilities. We now have the opportunity to reshape galactic civilization, to create a system based on cooperation and mutual respect rather than dominance and subjugation. The president activated a display showing humanity's expanding sphere of influence. Already, 17 independent species have requested to join a human-led alliance. They see in us the possibility of a different kind of galactic order, one where newer civilizations are not forced to accept subordinate status. She continued, outlining the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. We must be prepared for resistance from established powers who benefit from the current system. We must also be ready to lead by example, demonstrating that power can be used to protect rather than oppress. In the weeks that followed, the transformation of galactic politics accelerated rapidly. Species that had been clients or vassals of the major powers began declaring independence and seeking alliance with humanity. The rigid hierarchies that had defined galactic civilization for millennia started to crumble as younger species realized they no longer needed to accept subordinate status. Admiral Zephyrs found himself recalled to the Krillian capital to face a government inquiry into the failed military action. The once proud admiral stood before his species' ruling council, trying to explain how the most powerful military force in galactic history had been defeated by a species barely 3 centuries into space travel. Admiral, the Prime Counselor demanded, how do you recommend we respond to this situation? Admiral Zephyrs considered his words carefully. Honored Prime Counselor, I recommend that we adapt to the new reality. Human military capabilities make conventional warfare futile. Their technological innovations are decades or centuries ahead of our own in critical areas. Our choice is clear. We can either work with them or find ourselves increasingly isolated. You are suggesting capitulation to an inferior species, another council member accused. I am suggesting, Admiral Zephyrs replied firmly, that we acknowledge facts. The humans are not inferior. Their approach to science and warfare is different from ours, but it is clearly more effective. We can learn from them, or we can be left behind as galactic power shifts permanently in their favor. The council debate continued for hours, but the outcome was inevitable. The old order was ending, replaced by something entirely new and unprecedented in galactic history. Dr. Sarah Chun, the xenologist who had watched the alien fleet gather at Proxima Centauri, now found herself serving as humanity's chief diplomatic advisor. Her office in Geneva overlooked Lake Geneva, but her attention was focused on communications from across the galaxy as the new alliance system took shape. Dr. Chun, her assistant, announced, "We're receiving surrender requests from 3 more former hegemony client species. They want protection from retaliation for declaring independence." Dr. Chun nodded, making notes on her tablet. "Grant them provisional membership in the alliance. Deploy protection fleets to their systems immediately." She paused, reflecting on how quickly everything had changed. "Also, schedule a conference call with Admiral Mitchell. We need to discuss the integration protocols for new alliance members." As she worked, Dr. Chun couldn't help but smile at the irony of the situation. The species that had been seen as a chaotic threat to galactic order had become the foundation for a new kind of order, one based on freedom and cooperation rather than dominance and control. 6 months after the Battle of Seoul, Admiral Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UNS Defiance as it entered orbit around New Geneva, humanity's first purpose-built diplomatic world. The planet had been terraformed using technologies developed during the war, demonstrating human capabilities in peaceful applications as well as military ones. "Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Park announced, "the Galactic Confederation Assembly is ready to convene. Representatives from over 200 species are now in orbit." Admiral Mitchell looked out at the massive gathering of ships from across the galaxy. The vessels represented not just individual species, but an entirely new approach to galactic governance. The hierarchical system that had dominated for millennia was being replaced by something unprecedented, a true confederation of equals. "Signal the assembly," she commanded. "Let them know we're ready to begin." As the first session of the Galactic Confederation convened, Admiral Mitchell reflected on how far humanity had come. Less than a year ago, they had been seen as a minor irritant by the galaxy's established powers. Now they were leading the largest political transformation in galactic history. The final race had indeed been won, but not in the way anyone had expected. Rather than being eliminated as a threat to galactic order, humanity had proven that evolution was inevitable, that innovation would always triumph over stagnation, and that the future belonged to those brave enough to embrace change. As delegates from hundreds of species gathered to establish the new galactic order, one thing was clear: the age of the established powers was over. The future belonged to those species willing to adapt, to innovate, and to treat their neighbors as equals rather than subjects. Humanity had not just survived their greatest test. They had transformed the galaxy itself, proving that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from defeating your enemies, but from inspiring them to become something better. The stars that had once seemed so distant and hostile were now filled with allies and friends, united in the belief that cooperation was stronger than dominance, and that the future was bright enough for everyone to share. The final race was over, and everyone had won.